Hey guys, we got another sweet knife here. This is the Benchmade Pinnacle 750, and it's kind of an old school knife. I actually really like this one, had it for a long time, and just getting around to doing the review right now. But this is the Benchmade Pinnacle. Came out in the 1990s, and it's made out of ATS 34. And one of the sweetest things about it is it's just simple, elegant, and it works great. Just looking at the colors, I mean, you got your grays, silvers, and blacks on this. There's no other color on here, just gray, silver, black. I kind of like that. The shape of the knife is just, even though you think this is like 20, could be 20 years or more, old, and it's cool. It's just it's a cool looking knife. It's just really cool. Even in today's standards, you see a lot of knives coming out. This one just looks cool, and I'll tell you a few things about it. These handles, one of the reason that I like this one so much is these handles are actually pure titanium. It's actually 6Al 4V titanium. That's the type of titanium. And the other cool thing about it is it's a monolock or a frame lock. You see right there, the way that Benchmade did this is they cut a hole in the frame, and that allows the this piece to slide back and forth. And then there's a little ball bearing in there, so when you push this piece, this silver, that part of the blade has a point to rub, like right there. It's rubbing on a ball bearing that's inserted into this little hole right there. You see that little hole? There's a ball bearing on that side. So that's kind of how it works. There is a couple spacers here. This is I think this is like a plastic, hardcore plastic spacer, and then you got your Torx there. And then you got the clip. It says Benchmade. It's a nice clip. And then the blade's made out of their old school ATS 34, which you can see the markings on the blade. What I can tell you about this ATS 34 is it seems to be a great steel. Yeah, everybody's like, okay, well, that's the same thing as 154 CM. Well, you know what? It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. They might say that, they might try to make it seem like it is, but it's not the same thing. ATS 34 is very different than 154 CM. I had a hard time sharpening this knife recently. It had gotten dull, and I went to resharpen it, and I tried about 4 or 5 different ways to sharpen it. Even used a diamond Lansky and several different coarse diamond grits, and I was having a hard time sharpening this ATS 34. So I don't know, and I've always remembered ATS 34 has always been a hard steel to sharpen. And I got ZDP, and I got all these other fancy S30V and all this other fancy stuff, but for some reason ATS 34, it seems to be a hard steel to sharpen. I don't know if it's due to the heat treat they used on this particular knife. I don't really know, but it took me a while to get that sharp. So, whatever. Getting back to the knife here, they had several variations. Mine is actually a newer style because it doesn't say Bali Song right there. Some of them actually will say, this logo will say Bali Song right there. Mine doesn't. It just says Benchmade 750, and so it's a little bit newer. Mine has serrades. They make some that don't have serrades, and then they also make some with 154 CM. Some of the newer ones, newer than this. And then they also made this with a black a BTC type coating that Benchmade uses on a lot of their knives. So what does that mean? It means that you can get this in a lot of different flavors. The other thing that is happening recently is Benchmade came out with a gold class Pinnacle. They re-released this knife in a gold class, and it's a little bit It's a little bit different. I don't have that one. It's got pretty good jimping, you know, for an old style knife. It's not the greatest, but it does have a little bit of jimping. A lot of people say this knife reminds them of the Chris Reeves Sebenza, and that's right, it does. And I don't have one of those Sebenzas, but from what I've heard, this is really similar. Some people will say, well, it's not even close or not even good. Well, I would say you can do pretty much almost everything you can do with that knife, and this one costs a lot less. So you be the judge. Overall, this is one of my favorite Benchmades because it's so different. Especially when it came out, there was just nothing like it. They didn't have any mono locks when this one came out. This was one of their first mono lock knives, period, where there's no liners. It's just the frame, and you know, and then at that time they didn't have any that were made out of pure titanium. And this is smooth. There's something about this. When you feel this, it's bead blasted titanium to get this finish. But mine has been used so much that it's just so smooth. It feels so different than aluminum. It feels different than steel. It feels different than plastic. There's something about titanium in your hand. It just feels good. And this knife it's not a light knife by any means. It is, it's a little, I guess the titanium makes it a little bit lighter, but it's pretty, well, it's average size. It's not that heavy, I guess, but it's not a small knife by any means. What else? It only has one thumb stud. I guess you could take it out and put it on that side if you wanted. The clip, it's only got one spot for the clip. But yeah, this is the Benchmade Titanium Pinnacle 750, and it really is a nice knife. If you can't really find it in a lot of places now except eBay, but if you want a really good Benchmade and you want one that is a little bit different and that's going to hold up well and looks cool even 10-20 years later, this is it. This is the knife. It's the Benchmade Pinnacle, made in the US, out of titanium handles here, and it's frame lock, monolock. It's a really solid lock. I mean, this does not move. I'm pushing hard. It doesn't move at all, and I have to really push hard to make that move at all. So yeah, I'd recommend it. The only thing is you got to learn how to sharpen ATS 34, which for some reason this is really hard to sharpen on this one. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.